Welcome to episode 243 of the Grip Strip Podcast, the lawsuit operator edition of the Grip Strip Podcast. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host. And back from vacation is the iRacing Indy 500 champion, a computer genius, a gentleman, and a scholar. His name is Josh Fine. What's going on, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Phil. Of course, glad to be back after a week of vacation, but what a way to be back after watching probably the best race of the season here on the Cup Series here. And also we get to see the World Series as we're live recording this. So, glad to be back on.
Yeah, we're live recording during Game 4 of the World Series. Yankees down 3-0. Anthony Volpe, a couple of minutes ago, hit a grand slam to give the Yankees a 5-2 lead in the third inning. After 3, so we'll see. They're going to need to pull a miracle to win this, but it has to start somewhere. You have to get one, so have to hold on. That would be a novel concept too, but we'll see what happens with that. Josh mentioned it. Tyler Reddick going out there, last lap, last turn pass to beat defending series champion Ryan Blaney and lock himself into the Final Four. The lawsuit part of that title, and then in Mexico for the Mexico City Grand Prix, the smooth operator himself, Carlos Sainz, started on pole, needed some help from Fish Lips being a jackass, and then went out there and won the Mexico City Grand Prix. Either way, we'll get into those two races. We'll also get into Hank Hill winning Xfinity and Grand Enfinger taking the first two races of the round of 8 in the Truck Series. We'll talk about Week 8 in the NFL. The Niners go and try to blow a lead against the Dallas Cowgirls, but ended up holding on going into their bye. While Jacksonville had Jordan Love and then Malik Willis going out there and making plays there late in that game, a game that Jacksonville looked like they had a pretty good shot to win there. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about fantasy. Obviously, we'll be making comments regarding the World Series game here. They're down 3-0, and that's part of what I'll be talking about, how the hell we somehow or another get down 3-0. Oh, that's a great catch by Rizzo. Guy's jacked up fingers on his right hand, and he's still making those catches. So, the roundup, short and sweet this week. MotoGP and Moto2 was in Thailand last week, and they'll be at Malaysia this week. The Gold Coast 500 at Surfers last week for supercars, and then the World Endurance Championship season finale at Bahrain. We will preview the Brazilian Grand Prix for Formula One, make our picks, and then the tripleheader at Martinsville to close out the last round, the round of 8 in the playoffs for all 3 major NASCAR series. Preview all 3 races, make our picks, and who will make the Final Four and race at the dump that is Phoenix Raceway. Josh will let us know all things going on in iRacing Gaming in the Sim segment, and then we'll call it a day. So first, though, we'll get into the Straight Talk Wireless 400 record. Yeah, so, oh, wow, Romedale Speedway. Oh, that's a shame. I wish I had the money. I would have kept that place open. The Straight Talk Wireless 400 at Homestead Miami Speedway. Of course, Joey Logano coming in to this race, locked into Phoenix, so he didn't really have to do anything. One of the better races in this whole entire season. 33 lead changes amongst 11 drivers. The ability to race around the whole entire racetrack. One of the things that makes Homestead so unique. They complain about the fan draw, but then when you keep on moving the date around, it's hard to go and get people to show up every single time. When they had the finale, I think they did decent. So, but in the end, one of the best racetracks on the NASCAR circuit and one of my favorite racetracks for many reasons. Most notably because Tony won there 3 times and won and locked up all 3 of his championships at Homestead, most notably 2011. What a pick by Volpe. He got him. Yeah. They're gonna call a replay. Oh no, they're not. Okay. In terms of this race on Sunday, Tyler Reddick went and started out the weekend with a fast race car and then went out and qualified on pole. And Kyle Larson was outside. So basically the 2 guys you would think are the most likely to go and do the best there at Homestead were up front. But interestingly enough, Kyle Larson had some issues during the day, 2 particular issues. So we'll get into that later, but we'll give you the running order here. Tyler Reddick ends up winning the race, leading the most laps with 97. Ryan Blaney finished second after starting 20th. Reddick won stage 1. Denny Hamlin finished third and won stage 2. Christopher Bell finished fourth, the defending race winner. William Clyde Elliott II had a great race car and was in position to possibly win this race, ended up 5th. William Byron from 25th finished 6th. Alex Bowman was 7th. AJ Allmendinger from 32nd to 8th. It's amazing when he drives the Kaulig cars, and when SVG seems to drive the Kaulig cars, they run well. But then when it's anybody else, it seems like it doesn't work so well. I don't know. There might be something to that. Maybe Kaulig made a mistake by putting AJ Allmendinger back in the Xfinity Series, but then he won at Vegas last couple weeks ago, so who knows. Carson Hocevar, former winner at Homestead in the trucks, finished 9th, scored stage points in both stages. Then 3 Stewart Haas cars. Ryan Preece from 35th to 10th. Josh Berry finished 11th, and Chase Briscoe finished 12th. Briscoe, former winner there in the Xfinity Series. And then Kyle Larson finished 13th. And you had 6. The top 6 were all playoff guys. Then you had Larson in 13th, and then Joey Logano, who was in 28th and basically was a non-factor the whole day. Dale Walsh Jr. Led a couple laps, shot the moon on one of the early restarts, but lost track position. Brad Keselowski, similar. You had Gilliland. I guess they had green flag pit stops also. Kyle Busch led 5 laps, and then Justin Haley actually led a lap, but he spun out early in the race, trying to clear himself across Richard's nose. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to this race right here, I mean, it was that last segment from lap 2 after Kyle Larson spun with contact, trying to shoot a gap there with the 3 car, and that was his second incident of the day, or second issue he had on the day. And at that point, the restart, it was 2. Yeah, so from 2, so there was 3 lead changes in the final 6-7 laps of the race. So that it was pretty sporty. Basically became Blaney and Reddick, but Hamlin put himself in there late. Blaney needs a win. Hamlin essentially needs a win. So did Reddick, and then you put Clyde in there. 4 of those guys all are in a must-win situation, or what they would assume is a must-win situation, which allowed for such a spirited battle. But in the end, the little guy, the kid, went and did it, as Tyler Reddick's owner, Michael Jordan, said. Tyler Reddick goes out there at a track where he's won 2 championships at in the Xfinity Series, made a last lap pass on Ryan Blaney. What the decision, why Blaney went and moved a groove down and didn't block the high line, we don't know really, but in the end, Tyler Reddick's going to Phoenix, Josh.
Yeah, 100%. Tyler Reddick going to Phoenix here. He's been one of the best drivers in the second half of the year so far, and for Reddick, it was looking not good until literally the end at Homestead there, because they stayed out long on strategy, trying to hope for a late caution there, and then they were gifted one because Kyle Larson, trying to go for the lead, passing Ryan Blaney, made a really aggressive move, trying to go in between Blaney and Austin Dillon there, lapping Austin Dillon going into turn 3, and I think Austin Dillon probably should have just let the leaders go, but it's also his right to just maintain his line there, and it's exactly what he did. And Larson tried to shoot the gap between them and didn't have enough room between the 3 and the 12, and got loose, and then slowly lost it there in the middle of 3 and 4, and that caused the last yellow there with about 14 to go in that race, and it reset the field there, and basically gifted Reddick a chance because he had only had about a lap on his tires there. So for Reddick, that basically gifted him a chance to start basically up front almost, and the rest of the guys, they got a reset on their tires. And for Reddick, initially it looked like Blaney off that restart was going to be the guy, but then Reddick was able to make some moves. Blaney and Hamlin duked it out for the next couple of laps, and then Reddick went and passed him on the final lap. So incredible, effort over the last couple of laps on that restart, especially by Blaney, who I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make the move, off the bottom and do the slide job on Hamlin in turn 3 and 4, but he was able to do it, especially going as low as he was able to in turn 1 and 2, hugging the white line there, on the apron, and then able to pull him back on the backstretch, and then slide job into turn 3 and 4, and that put him into the lead going into the final lap. And I thought, Ryan Blaney is going to win this race, and he's going to defend his championship and go to Phoenix. But then turned out Tyler Reddick had kind of the same idea there, but then in turn 3 and 4, for whatever reason, Ryan Blaney thought that Reddick was going to do the slide job, so he went to defend that. But dirt guys like Reddick, Larson, they like to run the top, and that's the best chance to pass. And he basically gave Reddick the opportunity to do what he's good at, and that's running the high line, a place like Homestead, and that just allowed him to go right on by and win the race. And now the team that's suing NASCAR currently for antitrust is in the championship force. So now all of that considered is incredible. So now we're going to see what that storyline looks like here in a couple of weeks as they go and settle the championship, and we'll see if Reddick doesn't win the championship. There's going to be a lot of questions to be asked, especially with this lawsuit going on, and the way that NASCAR tends to work. If you followed it over the years with combatants, criticizing the sport, getting penalized and stuff among that nature. So that remains to be seen, although we do know that the teams that are in the championship for tend to are given an advantage over the rest of the field in sort of a way. So we'll see how that goes. But for the rest of the guys, like Larson, this is a missed opportunity because one, he was in the good, 35 points to the good going into this race, and this is one of his better tracks. Of course, running second, flat tire at the beginning of the race, that's not an issue. Of course, complain about how you hit the wall once or have some type of damage to the diffuser and you're done. And for a lot of that race, he was in the 30s, in the mid 20s, but I guess through strategy, through getting adjustments, they were able to go out and get back into the top 5, top 6, and then you saw him there improve to get to second there with 15 to go, and it looked like maybe it might be a battle between Blaney and Larson, or maybe even Hamlin, but Hamlin looked like he was a little too far back to go for the win. I don't know if he had enough time to make it up there, but certainly kind of the right idea there, staying a little bit later and having fresher tires towards the end, rather than other leaders having fresher tires at the beginning of the cycle on the last tire cycle there and wearing out towards the end. So, great racing throughout the race. And like I said, it shows why, this race should be the championship race. And hopefully in 2026, we see this race return to the championship race after, allegedly they might be doing some improvements to the infrastructure here. So we'll see how that turns out. But Tyler Reddick and Joey Logano, now we have 2 spots remaining here for the championship 4, and I guess we'll see who is able to either win or point their way into Phoenix or at Martinsville. So should be an exciting one here this weekend.
Yeah, definitely, and it's something that we're going to find out more at Martinsville this coming weekend. There is a possibility that Hendrick Motorsports could end up with nobody in there in the final 4, which would be pretty crazy to think, but I have a hard time believing that'll happen. We'll talk about that more during the picks, but yeah, Larson giving away those points there. If he ends up not making it after winning 6 races this year, it's akin to Kevin Harvick in 2020 with 9 wins in the regular through the first however many races of the season, and then basically being the dominant presence in the series in 2020 and then basically imploding in the round of 8. Larson didn't have a great first round, but won Bristol. Then he was okay in the second round, won at Charlotte. Vegas was not ideal, but, he came back. Then you have last week at Homestead, it's, like Josh said, one of his best tracks. So Martinsville, he's won at once, but has not historically been one of his best racetracks. It is a great racetrack, of course, for Hendrick. They got a top 1, 2, 3 finish in this spring. So we'll see what comes off of that. But, for Blaney, he's going to be left wondering. Christopher Bell, same thing last week. What could have been for both of those guys who were in the final 4 last year. And now, in the case of Bell, he's the best placed in points. So I think a reasonable finish for him, a finish that he's more than likely capable of getting without getting destroyed. I would think that he would be in. But we'll see about that. That's the last spot. I think you're going to have to win to get in, and that's where the fun starts with all them other guys to see who's going to get that job done at Martinsville. Blaney did it last year, so can he do it again? He's going to have to. You got, Reddick, Logano in. Larson actually, overall points-wise, within the round, he's 5 points ahead of Reddick, but is actually 7 points behind. 7 points, that's a home run for Will Smith. Lovely. He's 7 points behind William Byron for the cutoff. Denny Hamlin's minus 18. Ryan Blaney minus 38. Chase Elliott minus 43. So, outside of Bell, basically everybody else, it would be to their benefit. It would behoove them to win. So we'll see what happens with that. On the Xfinity side, they had the Credit One NASCAR American Express Credit Card 300. Amazing name. The race results there, it was not as dramatic of a race by any means. Really, 3 drivers dominated the race. Chandler Smith, who started on pole, Cole Custer, who's won there multiple times, and the guy who ended up winning, a rare instance where Hank Hill actually ran well on a track that wasn't a super speedway. He got a perfect day, swept both stages, and won the race, so he got all the points there. Beats Cole Custer Eric Almirillo, the Florida driver, of course. Jesse Love, 4th. Sheldon Creed, 5th. Riley Herbst, Ryan Sieg. Justin Allgaier, who announced the multi-year extension with Brandt Professional Agriculture. Sam Mayer, AJ Allmendinger, of course, who's locked in to Phoenix, round out the top 10. Parker Kligerman just outside, and Connor Zilich. Chandler Smith started on pole, as I mentioned, got a couple of stage points, but finished 13th. And Sammy Smith was a lap down in 22nd. He was the worst of the playoff guys. So, so that's, I mean, Hank Hill was able to, there was only 2 cautions for cause the whole entire day. So there wasn't a whole lot of action. Once Austin Hill had the best car on long runs, and he was swapping the lead with Cole Custer throughout the majority of the day. But in the end, after a few years of falling short in getting into the Final Four, Hank Hill gets into the Xfinity Final Four for 2024.
Yeah, Austin Hill here winning the Xfinity race, of course. For him, I mean, this was definitely a race where he was really dominant throughout the entire race, but then Cole Custer, of course, had his strong run too, and for a moment there, thought at the end that Cole Custer might win the race, but last restart there, Cole Custer, Austin Hill lining up side by side. They battled for a few laps, and I thought Cole Custer might have this one in the bag, and which he's good at this track at Homestead and having won there in the past. But Austin Hill goes out and steals the lead from him, and then he's able to pull away in the final laps of the race and win by a pretty big margin, actually, which I think tells you how good of a car he had and just how much he was able to get out of it versus Cole Custer there at the end. But for Hill, now he's in the Championship 4, which, like you said, hadn't made it in the last couple of years. Of course, last year kind of showed who he was as a character in this series and everything, and now doesn't have to worry about that because now he's in. So he's a guy that he could be a wild card in this Championship 4 for the Xfinity Series. We know how he likes to drive. Compared to other drivers, he's very aggressive. So if he's in a position where he could possibly take the championship from somebody else, he might be willing to do it. Or using a situation where if he's in position to win the title, drive very defensively and pick up a championship in that manner. So of course he's got the most wins on the season, so I guess in that regard the most successful driver of the year so far. So now just a few more races and we'll see what it looks like here going into that championship. But I guess for Custer, I mean, he's currently in the Championship 4, so nothing to worry about there. And Allgaier as well. But for the rest of the guys like Chandler Smith, he has an opportunity still. Didn't he won the pole, led 29 laps, but didn't win. And there's also the question of whether he even be a driver in 2025. He's talking about if he doesn't get anything for this, he may end up just working in his dad's construction company in 2025. So that's certainly a bummer there for him. Kind of tells you kind of the issues with the sponsorship model. Of course, he is kind of one of the more better off drivers in terms of, I guess, being a guy that brings money into a team. But at the same time, though, that is kind of a weird deal to see a guy that's as competitive and as successful as he's been in the Cup Series in the Xfinity Series that he could end up with out of a job and going, instead of even going to a lower tiered Xfinity ride, just being out of the series completely and going to working, I guess, at his father's company or whatever. So kind of a weird deal to see that, but we'll see, I guess, how that works out. But certainly for him, this is, definitely an opportunity that he missed out by not winning, or at least not having enough points to go out and win. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. But yeah, like you said, yeah, Austin Hill coming out here and winning the race. Going to be an interesting deal. He's got him and Allmendinger here, and then I'm thinking that Justin Allgaier at some point probably clinches his way in. Cole Custer, I mean, I think this is a pretty stacked championship for the Xfinity Series. So I guess, yeah, we'll see what Martinsville looks like and how that race ends up turning out and everything. But as it stands, I think what we currently see, I think, is probably one of the better, I guess, championship fours that we've seen here in the Xfinity Series in quite a while.
We've had some dramatic Final Fours in the Xfinity Series over the years. The one that, of course, we all remember. I remember, of course, Briscoe winning 9 races in 2020 and then basically disappearing at Phoenix, and Gumby Cindric ending up winning the championship. Then the next year, Gumby Cindric, trying to repeat, gets moved by Daniel Hemrick in the final turn. Hemrick gets his first career Xfinity win, and in turn also gets a championship. That was the most dramatic thing that's happened at Phoenix in the Xfinity Series. In that championship race, of course, I mentioned the Homestead races where Tyler Reddick, who wasn't theoretically a favorite the first year he went and did it at Junior Motorsports, then came back the next year driving for RCR and went and won that race and got the championship. Custer was a time winner there. So we'll see what happens in Martinsville. It's going to be difficult on Saturday night. It usually is a demolition derby, so we'll see how that all comes off this coming weekend. The points in the Xfinity Series, Allgaier's plus 35, Cole Custer plus 28. So it would take a really poor finish for both of those guys to open the door for any of those other drivers. Essentially, I mean, Sam Mayer, I know, is going to go for broke and try to win. Jesse Love, nothing to lose. He's going to be the Rookie of the Year. Chandler Smith, obviously, even though he's partially daddy's money, he knows he has nothing to lose too. So it's a really crazy situation there. You got a bunch of people that are basically going balls to the wall, and they're going to be able to throw caution to the wind, and you have Allgaier and Custer are going to have to be conservative. So we'll see what happens with that. On the Truck Series side, you had the Baptist Health 200 at Homestead Miami Speedway. The race itself may have not been definitely wasn't that interesting. Only 3 drivers that really were dominant figures in this race. Corey Heim started on pole, won stage 1. The eventual winner, Grant Enfinger, who won stage 2. And then Lane Riggs, who got nailed with a penalty for having a steering wheel that had excess weight. So we'll see what happens with that team because of the illegal steering wheel there. So we'll see what happens with that. The results: Grant Enfinger over Ty Majeski, the defending race winner at Homestead. Connor Mozak, 3rd, best career finish for him. Corey Heim, 4th. Tyler Ankrum was 5th. Stuball, Daniel Dye, Raja Caruth, Christian Eckes, Taylor Gray round out your top 10. Nick Sanchez, hometown guy, started 4th but only finished 13th. Other guys, I mean, Caden Honeycutt was up there a good amount of the race. Corey Day racing for McAnally, 16th, Connor Zilic 18th, Dawson Sutton 19th. Lane Riggs ended up 22nd. The one thing I'll mention before we move, you had Connor Daly struggled, but he wasn't as bad as his buddy Marco Andretti, but then it's Marco Andretti. He sucks at everything. Frankie Muniz announced he's going to be full-time next year. Definitely didn't have a great day on Saturday. The one thing that'll probably be taken away from this race because of what has lasted or what is still going on is Matt Mills having a huge wreck, catching on fire, suffering burns. We don't know if he's going to be racing this weekend or not. That came from Connor Jones running him over intentionally. And this is not the first instance of Connor Jones going and doing that in a truck to somebody, let alone in general. It's part of what's wrong with this current day driver and daddy's money and mommy's money type people getting these rides. They drive through people, they drive over people, make ridiculously bad decisions, and use vehicles as weapons. And Connor Jones injured Matt Mills. I mean, that might be the first time people actually felt bad for Matt Mills, considering how shitty he is as a race car driver and how douchey he is. He somehow or another became a face here in this spot. It's almost like the Durwood Rusty Wallace thing in 1989, except these guys really suck. But yeah, I mean, that was the one takeaway. Grant Enfinger and the Cody Robaugh team has been up there. They've kind of been in the top 10 all year, but now they found this speed, him and Jeff Stankiewicz here in this final few races. And I mean, last year, we think about it going back to the crazy, ridiculous Phoenix finale. Grant Enfinger was a few laps away from becoming a Truck Series champion and got screwed out of that because of Corey Heim and Carson Hocevar. But now he's won 2 races in this round. He's lining himself up to possibly go and he'll get another opportunity at Phoenix in a couple of weeks. But this time it looks like he has a better opportunity possibly to go out and get that championship.
Yeah, it's looking like for Grant Enfinger, definitely a better opportunity this year to win the title here. And, I think definitely the way he's been running this season, I think he'll be in a better position here at Phoenix. Obviously, he's got 2 guys right now in the championship 4 who are been the class of the series so far, with Corey Heim, of course, who's likely going to make it in on points at Martinsville. Then, Christian Eckes as well being up there. So there's really, for him, no other driver, I think, with Ty Majeski also could be a factor in this, but it's going to be a bit tougher, I think, for Grant Enfinger. But I think at the end of the day, the way he's been running, they'll be in a position to go out and win the title here at Phoenix. But obviously they've been running well this overall season, and here they were able to go out and win the race. So surprised that Corey Heim didn't win this race. Obviously last year, I think, won at Homestead, but Grant able to, actually Hocevar won, but Corey Heim, I remember leading a lot of that because I was there. But Grant Enfinger going out. Basically, other than Mosak, the top 3 drivers here are basically playoff drivers. So it's really not a surprise with the end of the season here at the Truck Series that guys in the playoffs are, and especially in the Championship 4 side of things, are of the cut line are up there. But we'll see how it goes in Phoenix for Enfinger, but definitely wants to get, I guess, vengeance for last year. Of course, Corey Heim probably understands better last year how to handle himself in that situation that he was in last year, so he probably wouldn't happen again, but we'll see, and everything. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, you brought up a good point there, though, with Connor Jones and Matt Mills with their incident. Which, yeah, seeing driver retaliation on a 1.5-mile track, especially a guy just going flat out into a corner and running over a guy and putting him in the wall. I mean, I would like to think that's unacceptable. I mean, I think they gave him like a 2-lap penalty or whatever, but 2-lap penalty. I mean, that's I guess something, but there should be more. I think, considering that they put him, I mean, in the hospital for Matt Mills. So, and obviously not just like a overnight or even like just a quick check for observation and release, but I mean, he was there for multiple days. So, I think if anything, it should be a wake-up call to the series. I mean, but we say constantly that incidents that happen in the truck series should be a wake-up call, like how the championship ended last year, the opening race of the season this year. Of course, with all the crashes that happened, you would think that at some point there'd be a wake-up call. So maybe this time with an actual driver being injured or some way that maybe they'll have a wake-up call and try to have better driver standards if NASCAR's not going to do it. But, at some point NASCAR's got to step in and start legitimately penalizing people for rough driving like this. I mean, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be in the race. I mean, 2-lap penalty, okay, takes him out of the race, or even just like parking him, right? But I don't know, you'd expect like some kind of like fine or suspension or something, but obviously they haven't done that. So we'll see. And I mean, obviously Connor Jones puts out like some statement or whatever saying, apologizing, or I guess like giving whatever not condolences, but well wishes to Matt Mills or whatever in that team. But he's clearly got issues, and that goes far back into late model days, I think, for him, from what I've been able to gather. So not only him, but just in general, the series, the younger drivers of the series have an issue, I guess, with racing with good ethics, and we definitely need a lot more of Grant Enfingers in the series than we do Connor Jones in the series, and that's part of the problem with the truck series, and again, kind of the problem with the sport of NASCAR, going back to what we said with Chandler Smith, possibly being out of ride as a paid driver, and the whole Tyler Reddick 2311 team winning the race as they're suing for antitrust. And I think that's all part of it, is just how the sport has kind of changed, going from where you had veterans in the truck series like Jack Sprague, Ron Hornaday, and now Grant Enfinger, I think, is probably part of that same cloth there. And now you have more guys who don't really understand being in this series and doing stupid things like what Connor Jones did. So yeah, definitely not something we want to see. And yeah, definitely good point in bringing that up. And I mean, yeah, hopefully Matt Mills is okay, and hopefully he's able to get back and race soon, if not this upcoming weekend. So otherwise, I mean, shaping up, I mean, I think this championship 4 here in the Xfinity series, or in the truck series, is probably all set, but we'll see how that turns out. Obviously things can happen. We could see an unexpected winner, or have something happen to, say, like Ty Majeski or something like that, where it opens the door for maybe one of the guys on the outside looking in to get in on points.
Yeah, that's where it would have to be, really. I mean, you'd need to have kind of a anomaly for Ty Majeski, considering how consistent he is and how good he is on short tracks, his prowess and abilities to win super late model races. Even winning in this series, and my mistake, I keep on saying he was like the defending race winner at Homestead. He is a former winner at Homestead, but it was Hocevar last year. But anyways, I mean, you look at Heim, he's won there before at Martinsville. There you go. We finally got it. Martinsville. So they're going to have wet. I mean, he did it in the wet last year. in the spring, but he has won there before. You have Christian Eckes, who's been really solid anywhere, and Majeski. I mean, I think for the series, it would be to their benefit if that is the final four, because you have the three best drivers during this season, probably, and then the guy who's shown up the best in the playoffs all together in a final four at Phoenix. I think that would be, considering how bad the Truck Series looks on a regular basis and how poorly Fox presents the Truck Series, it would be beneficial for them to have that final four. I mean, Rajah Caruth has shown at times. I think the cookie cutters are a better chance for him. Taylor Gray, obviously he's getting more experience, but he hasn't really gotten in that position to win a race. And then, Ankrum hasn't won a race in years. And then Nick Sanchez, I wouldn't say he's a big-time short track guy. So essentially they're in a win and in scenario. Heim and Eckes are likely to make it in via points. So it would really be about Majeski and trying to hold on for him. All right. So we'll move forward to the Grand Prix of Mexico, and that race, of course, the weekend, interesting weekend, but for Ferrari, it was definitely a solid weekend, taking the momentum from the week before at Circuit of the Americas for the U.S. Grand Prix, getting a 1-2 finish. This past weekend, Carlos Sainz went out, got the pole, and was able to utilize argy-bargy from the guy who's going to win the championship, and the guy who he's battling for the championship, and to go and pass and basically go running away with the victory. Carlos Sainz, a smooth operator, wins the Grand Prix of Mexico by 4.705 seconds over Lando Norris, one of his friends. Charles Leclerc was third and got the fastest lap. Lewis Hamilton was fourth. George Russell fifth. So Mercedes getting decent points haul after what started out and has been a couple of rough weeks. They got something out of the day. Fishlips finished sixth after getting 2 10-second penalties for his driving standards after his driving standards came into play at COTA. Kevin Magnussen finished seventh for Haas. Oscar Piastri was eighth after being knocked out in Q1 in qualifying. Nico Hulkenberg was ninth, a lap down, along with Pierre Gasly, who was last car to score points. Franco Colapinto was 12th. There was a first lap incident that saw Yuki Tsunoda go pukey and take out Alex Albon. Sergio Perez was out in Q1 and then got into argy-bargy with Liam Lawson, amongst other people. They had different strategies. It was definitely not a day for Red Bull if you're a fan of that organization. No one really looked good at the end of that deal. But if you ask Jos Verstappen or Karen Horner, they're unfair to Fishlips. I don't think you could be Ray Charles and you could see that the bastard doesn't bother to make corners, and anybody that races him hard, he starts driving through them. It's been a trend for his whole entire goddamn career. We're getting into people like Connor Jones who are never will be's, who have money, like William Sawalich, like people who win because they have mommy and daddy's money. They may have a modicum of talent, but they go out there and they drive like dickheads. This guy has supreme talent, but then he's a douche, and he's just a horrible person. and then on top of it, his driving standards when he actually has to drive around somebody are an abomination. And the guy is about to become a 4-time world champion, which is a total embarrassment to the Formula One World Championship when the guy has not won one of those championships legitimately. And this will be yet another one because of whatever aero and whatever different things they've been doing. Cost cap, the 1 year, 2021 was, we know what 21, and then last year, I'm trying to remember what it was, but they had no competition whatsoever. And there's stuff going on, but yeah, I mean, in the end, Carlos Sainz went out there, dominated the race, Josh, and he gets a second win of the season. There's been multiple drivers win 2 races this year, which is interesting. I think it speaks to the possibilities for 2025 with this competitive battle for the Constructors' Championship. The Drivers' Championship is done, but definitely this Constructors' Championship is what we have to watch for these last 4 races of the season coming up. But the smooth operator went out there and did work at Mexico.
Yeah, obviously, did work this weekend here at Mexico, and yeah, Carlos Sainz, who's going on the way out to Williams here next year, which obviously they've been struggling for many years. So who knows? This could be Carlos Sainz's last win for a good while. So obviously, what a win to have here at the Mexican Grand Prix, but. Yeah, I mean, this, like you said, this championship for the Drivers' Championship, likely in the hands of Max Verstappen. I mean, Lando's still mathematically in it, but as we go along, it's, become clear that Lando's not going to win or max out the points by winning, and Verstappen is always going to be there at least in the top 10. So, unless there's like a total collapse where Verstappen crashes out of one and has something happen in the other, it's not going to be a problem for him to win this championship. So still, I mean, we'll see what happens, but it's looking like it's Verstappen title. But yeah, as far as, like you said, for Constructors' Championship, which I think that's probably going to give a better indicator of how, like you said, 2026 or 2025 is going to go for F1. Yeah, I mean, you have these multiple teams. You have Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, and of course Red Bull, all 4 of those teams. I think it's really good for the sport when we have healthy competition among the teams instead of 1 or 2 teams running away with the whole deal and winning most of the races and everything. So the fact that we aren't really seeing the Red Bull domination anymore, I think that's definitely a good thing. And now, we're seeing guys going out and winning races, whether it's Carlos Sainz or, Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri or any other driver that's not named Max Verstappen. So, yeah, for Sainz, of course, I mean, good. It's a great win, of course, which, makes you question, why. I mean, obviously Lewis is going over there, so yeah, that's him getting the shaft there. But if it weren't for Lewis Hamilton, I mean, I think Carlos Sainz would make a great case for why he should continue to be on Ferrari otherwise. So, yeah, I think for him, I mean, it's unfortunate that he's going to Williams and maybe never having a chance to win for a while. But for Verstappen or both, Carlos has proven that he's capable of winning, and we'll see what he's able to do at Williams next year. But I guess otherwise though, for Verstappen, of course, obviously a lot of aggressive driving throughout that, and of course led to the penalty, 20 seconds for some incidents that he had throughout the race with Lando Norris, and obviously had a chance to actually be in position to at least lead in this race as well at the beginning. But Carlos Sainz able to hold his position there and continue on and retain the lead. So yeah, it's going to be interesting going forward. These last couple of races, seeing this title battle play out. But yeah, I mean, it's looking like Verstappen, but at least it's going to be interesting though, with the, like you said, like with how these teams are, going out and competing besides Red Bull. So definitely, I think with the Las Vegas Grand Prix coming up, Brazilian Grand Prix coming up, I mean, there will be chances for Red Bull to get back into it. But I think with Ferrari, they definitely have an opportunity to win more races before the end of the year. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, at least we didn't see Max Verstappen win. I'll say that.
We haven't seen him win in a while, which is positive for the sport. What isn't positive is the way he drives in general. 2 10-second penalties when you have theoretically the best car or one of the best cars. He ended up still finishing 6th. So he really didn't pay a penalty there. It's kind of like what we were talking about a little bit ago with Connor Jones. A 2-lap penalty doesn't really do the job. It's kind of like what they used to do with Earnhardt. 1-lap penalty, he still ran over. It's like he ran over Rusty Wallace. They gave him a 1-lap penalty. He came back, ran over Terry Labonte trying to win the same race. So it's like, it's the same kind of crap with fish lips, but 19, what was it? Woody Russell was like 19 out of 20 drivers agreed that we need to change the rules in terms of driving standards. So we can probably deduce who that one driver was that didn't want to change a driving standard, because basically that's his maneuver. Driving cars off track and then basically going and saying, oh, well, he went off track. You can't go off track and overtake. So not even making the corner, or not even attempting to make the corner, is his move. It's not like actually driving properly. What he did to Lando Norris, let's get something straight. I don't care for Lando Norris at all. But the fact of the matter is, the moves he put on Lando Norris were just absolutely egregious. And for a guy who's going to be a 4-time World Drivers Champion, coming up with all the excuses that he had, I mean, he has no remorse, he has no awareness whatsoever. And I've said this numerous times, I can't stand the freaking guy. That's a home run for Austin Wells. Okay. Geez. Wow. But well, he does wear number 28, so that's my favorite number. Like one of my lucky numbers. But in terms of fish lips, he's going to win the championship, but he's an embarrassment. His fan base is an embarrassment. It kind of goes with the current day, where the toxicity of people and things. He's a toxic person, and he's enabled by toxic people, and it's not a healthy look. It's not a good look for this sport. I do agree that, Carlos Sainz basically going down about 2 or 3 tiers team-wise from Ferrari to Williams is not fair by any means, but I would go and say that, I mean, at least he still has a ride in Formula One, considering how good he is. When you get, fish lips and then Lewis, they're at a different level. They're at a high level, the highest. Then once you get past everybody else, once you get down to everybody else, guys that have won Grand Prix, whatever, I think people rate Leclerc very highly. So you have Leclerc, you have Carlos, and then you have like Lando Norris, Woody Russell. They're all kind of in one group. And Carlos Sainz has earned his spot. He's driven for I don't know how many of these teams in the sport. So he's very capable, and he's made a career, and he's handled himself with class. So, I mean, that's really what it's all about. So even in a time where it's like the worst, where you're going to end up losing your ride, albeit to a 7-time world champion, I think he's going to be a big part of Williams making a move forward. It probably won't be next year. They've already came out and said next year is going to be rough. But, 2026, I would watch out for that organization with the driver lineup that they have. Okay, let's see here. So yeah, we'll move on to NFL. Oh, sorry. Get the points. Actually, we'll go through the standings. The drivers' standings right now is 47. Fish Lips over Norris. Leclerc is 24 points behind Lando for second. Piastri 11 points ahead of Carlos Sainz for fourth. Lewis Hamilton 12 points ahead of George Russell for sixth. And then, Sergio Perez is eighth in points. That is pretty pathetic. Fred Alonso by himself in ninth there. Then Nico Hulkenberg 7 points ahead of Stroll, 9 points ahead of Tsunoda for the last spot in the top 10. And then in the constructors, 29 points. 29 points. McLaren leads Ferrari. And then Red Bull right now, who's going to win the Drivers' Championship, is third in the constructors. They're 54 points back of McLaren. They're in third. Mercedes and Aston Martin, fourth and fifth in their own world. Haas, 10 points ahead of Toro Rosso. Williams 3 points ahead of Alpine for eighth, and then Slaughter still has no points. So we'll move forward to NFL Week 8, and saw interesting week. More injuries have come along for all these teams, and a lot of issues. But in terms of, like, for my fantasy teams, split, I was able to split. It wasn't the best one. Oh, wow. Cam Robinson got traded from the Jaguars. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I just saw that.
So Cam Robinson, because they needed, Minnesota had just lost Darisaw, their left tackle, and the minute he went out, it looked like they were in deep trouble there. So they went and fixed the problem and got one of the better offensive linemen out there, one of the better left tackles. The Colts are benching Anthony Richardson for Joe Flacco. Deontay Johnson gets traded from Siberia to the Ravens. That's Josh Uche got traded from the Patriots to the Chiefs. I mean, this is ridiculous. This has got to be a work. You know how the Patriots keep on getting players from these teams without basically having to give up anything. It's like it's got to be some sort of fix. They get DeAndre Hopkins for a ham sandwich, and now you get Josh Uche, who a couple of years ago had like 15 sacks or whatever the hell it was, or 11 and a half. And so, I really don't. It's just BS. It's unbelievable. But upload. So then Thursday Night Football. Last week, the Rams ended up beating the Vikings by 10. Then the Ravens actually lost to the Browns with Jameis Winston starting. And then the thoughts of how Cleveland has probably thrown away their year because they kept that sexual deviant as a starter. But, that is what it is. The Lions destroy the Titans. Put up a 52-burger there. Texans hold off the Colts by 3. I mentioned Packers, Jaguars, so Josh will talk more about that. Patriots came back to beat the Jets. Buccaneers and Falcons played a tight game. Falcons end up winning. Bengals get worked, and they're basically done by the Eagles. Saints are a rudderless ship. They lose to the Chargers, and Bills put a whooping on the Seahawks in Seattle. Commanders, you had Jaden Daniels throwing a Hail Mary. It bounced off a couple of Bears defenders, and Washington was able to catch it and win. Panthers going back to what's his name at quarterback. I'm forgetting quarterback names now, but the Broncos won that game. Kermit the Frog was able to win in part because of their defense getting stops in big spots. He turned the ball over. They had it on the 3-yard line. The Raiders figured out a way to keep losing yards. The 49ers tried to blow another game, but in the end won over the Cowgirls. National Tight End Day. George Kittle gets over 100 yards and a touchdown. Should have had 2 touchdowns. They called one of them back. Garrido had a solid, strong game coming in for Mason, who had the shoulder issues. Ricky Pearsall got his first career start. You had defense-wise, Fred Warner did his thing. Magaboy got a sack. I think at least a sack. I have to go look at the stats here. That's not what I was like. Brock Purdy had 2 total touchdowns, 1 passing, 1 rushing. Garando, 85 yards on 14 carries and a touchdown. GK, 6 for 128 and a score. Debo had 71 yards on 4 receptions, and then an additional 15 yards rushing on 4 carries. There's Renardo Green, Diamador Lenore, forced fumbles. Jair Brown got a pick off of Dak Prescott, and Lenore also great pick. Both of them had great picks. Shavarius Ward, condolences to him and his wife on the loss of their baby daughter. Only, was it 1 or, just really sad there for him and his family. It's been also not been a great year for him either. I can imagine that was probably part of what was affecting him. Warner, 3 solo tackles and 4 assists. Magaboy, 2 tackles, 1 assist with a sack. And a tackle for loss also for Fred Warner. Sam Okawanu got a sack as well. So Malik Mustafa was doing work on Sunday for sure. So he's somebody to look at. This draft, considering how bad the Niners have done with drafts in this regime, this draft that they had is probably could be the best one they've ever had, with all the players that are really making a difference for the Niners. That's the recap or slight recap for the Niners for me. Then the Steelers ended up beating the Giants. It was a quiet first half, and then the Steelers kind of imposed their will in the second half. So both New York teams are 2-6, and so it's really bad. It's not the worst team in the league, but they're definitely up there. And I mentioned splitting this week in regards to my fantasy teams. One in my league over Manny. Joe won, had high points. Josh, it was a low-scoring affair between you and Matt. And then, what was it? Wilson by a point, just over a point, won over Vic. And then Steve ended up with Luke over Steve there. So interesting. Right now 6 teams over 5, at least 500 or better. 3 teams a game out of the playoff, and then Jeff is at 2-6, rounding out the league right now. But anything can happen. We got 6 weeks to go in the regular season. Josh, let us know your thoughts on what took place for your Jaguars on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers.
I think first of all, we'll talk about the, breaking news here that Cam Robinson got traded to the Vikings. I mean, it's not a surprise. I mean, he got benched on Sunday after getting concussed the previous week versus the Patriots. He got benched on Sunday, and Walker Little was able to fill in. And it's kind of been an interesting deal with him and Walker Little because I think they're both starting quality tackles, but you have Cam Robinson, obviously very expensive going into this year and free agent going into next season, and you have to wonder if maybe they should have gotten rid of him this year and gone to Walker Little, who's on the last year of his deal as a draft pick. And there's questions about him last year because how he played on the offensive line, especially with one of his mistakes coming on when Trevor Lawrence got his ankle injury last year, but they went with Cam Robinson this year as left tackle, and now he's being traded, which I don't know if he's really one of the best tackles or offensive linemen in the league now. I mean, he's being paid like it, but I don't think he really is as good as what the contract states he should be. But they should have done is they should have gotten rid of him after 2022 when they drafted Anton Harrison as right tackle, and they could have left Jawan Taylor, re-signed Jawan Taylor, who's on the Chiefs now, and causing false starts, which he never got called in Jacksonville, but now he gets called in Kansas City. But anyway, they could have kept him and then put Anton Harrison at left tackle, who, as good as the right tackle as he's been so far, I think people have said he's actually even better as a left tackle. So would have kind of killed two birds there with one stone in kind of a way. But now, Walker Little's auditioning for his job for next year to be the left tackle. So we'll see how that goes, which he's been playing well and filling in for Cam Robinson there throughout the year, and especially the last couple of games here. And I think he played well on Sunday. So yeah, we'll see how this goes now that he's confirmed as the full-time starter the rest of the year and everything. And Cam Robinson actually plays the Jaguars in 2 weeks, so we'll see how that goes there. But the game of Sunday, I mean, they get down 10-0. Offense, actually, I think it remained scoreless the first quarter, which, I think people were surprised with the Packers, how they played. But, defensively, they were stopping the run. They were limiting Jordan Love in the first half, but then the second half, the run defense, as Jordan Love was hurt there, and they went to Malik Willis, they run defense went away, and then they allowed Malik Willis to get a big pass to get the game-winning field goal there, so that's definitely part of it. First half, at the end of the first half, they actually allowed I think it was a missed field goal or something, and but they got off the field and then they called a flag on it because of a legal shift on defense, which is a legal legal delay of game on defense and special teams, which that's kind of a weird one there, and allowed points for the Packers there. And then Trevor Lawrence fumbled inside the 5, trying to do too much, but then at the end is able to lead them to a 10-point comeback there, and leading him down 17-27, come back, tie the game 27-27 with a huge touchdown to Evan Ingram there, and over the top of 3 defenders. So I mean, that's it's a good and bad Trevor Lawrence, I guess, but he's able to lead his team back to be in contention for possibly a late win or overtime play, and then the defense falls apart. So that's it's been the story of the 23-3 Jaguars, or 2024 Jaguars. And I mean, it's another game to the end of Doug Peterson and maybe Trent Baalke, but with this trade, Trent Baalke, of course, acting like he has a job for next year, which I guess maybe that's him doing his job there, trying to prepare the team for next year. I mean, you continue business as usual, assuming that you would be there, but I guess if he does get fired, then I guess it's extra picks for the future GM, which I guess this is a good move anyways, because Cam Robinson obviously free agent next year, and they probably can get rid of him to see who they can have as the left tackle for next year. So yeah, we'll see. Now they got what was supposed to be a Sunday Night Football game, but now got flexed. So the second time in the last 6 seasons, the Jaguars, they've had 3 potential Sunday night games, and they got flexed out of 2 of them. The other one being the Steelers and the Jags on Sunday night at home back in 2018, following the 2017 postseason. But they got flexed out of that. That was the national game on CBS, and then actually turned out to be a better game than what they flexed that out of, which I think was Bears and Vikings that year. And then this year, they're flexing that one out for Colts versus Vikings, which now Joe Flacco starting on Sunday night in place of Anthony Richardson, who took a play off because he was too tired, and now he get benched. So I think more than anything, his play this year, Anthony Richardson, showing that he shouldn't be the starter if they're trying to go for a possible playoff spot for the Colts. But yeah, back to the Jags. They play the Eagles on the national 4:00 game in CBS. So Peterson returning to the place where he's got a literal statue built for him there. So we'll see if he can win a game in his, I guess, stadium there up in Philly. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the Jags season's on the ropes again, which I think it already was. 2022 they were down. After the last weekend of October, they were down 2-6 on the season, when they came back and went 6-2 the rest of the way to go 9-8. I mean, yes, it could happen, but it's a total schedule this year is a lot tougher than it was 2 years ago. So we'll see how it goes. But I guess it's the NFL; anything can happen, right? So we'll see. But fantasy wise, yeah, didn't do all that well this week in fantasy. Probably should have started Marvin Harrison Jr. Considering he was going against the Colts or against the Dolphins there, but I don't know why I didn't, but I did. So the Colts or the Dolphins allowed 2 touchdowns, I think, from Marvin Harrison there. So yeah, I should have started him, but he hadn't been good the last couple of weeks, so I didn't start him there, and probably should have. And then in my other league, I won, so that's good there. 5-3 in my other league, and then 4-4 in this league with our league. So yeah, at least playoff contention in both. So we'll regroup and go back at it again next week. So yeah, that's it for me fantasy wise, I guess. So yeah, I don't even know who I'm playing next week. So we'll continue on and get back at it next week, and hopefully get a win and improve myself in the standings, I guess.
That's all we can do. I mean, just keep fighting. That's really what it is. Still time to go, 6 games, 6 weeks to go in the regular season for fantasy purposes. So getting into December, so that's where we have to see what happens week to week, getting towards the end of playing everybody in the round robin. So for the league itself, so this week and next week, I lead the league. I have more points than anyone. Definitely points against I'm not close there. Josh is least points against, or him and Luke. But, in terms of points for, team has been strong. So we'll take it. I'm playing Jeff, but I have a bunch of guys on bye, 49ers specifically. So Josh is playing Joe. Vic is playing Manny. Luke is playing Wilson. So buddies there, former coworkers, whatever it is. And then Steve and Matt playing each other. So that actually is last week of the round robin. Then we'll go and start over playing everybody that we played for the first few weeks of the season. So, okay, so we'll move forward as Aaron Judge is up and has been absolutely god-awful in this World Series, and has been pretty god-awful this whole entire playoff. That's a strike looking. Oh, man, that should have been a ring. He should have been rung up looking. He does not. He's like afraid of like swinging at good pitches, and then he goes and swings at bad pitches. And he's the best goddamn hitter in the game. And he's going to be the AL MVP. I got under that one. But, yeah, I mean, Aaron Boone went and fucked up game one of the World Series. Should have kept Garrett Cole in. And that started this whole entire process. You know, putting Nestor Cortez in extra innings to get lefty matchups, got Shohei Ohtani to pop out, a rare instance where Shohei Ohtani wasn't a subhuman creature, and then that's another pop-up. But then Freddie Freeman with bases loaded, since they decided not to pitch to Mookie Betts, which, I mean, whatever. I guess in terms of the matchup, they think it makes sense, but dude hasn't pitched in a month. And then you go and pitch to goddamn Freddie Freeman, and goes ding dong Johnson, as Pedro Martinez would say, and basically puts LA on, just puts the whole entire place on fire, and gets that grand slam, pulls a Kirk Gibson, and they win game one. Game two, he goes and does. It was him and Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts set the table, and then another home run for Freddie Freeman. They go out. It was Rodon. Rodon didn't really have much anything. They go out and win that game. Runners in scoring position. Yankees are not able to get people in until today's game, it seems. Even with that, they've stranded so many runners in the process. Management of the starters and the bullpen itself has been terrible. That's a line out. But in terms of how the Dodgers have played, I mean, I think they've been obviously have played better. Starting pitching, whatever you want to say, Yamamoto did all right. Bueller had a strong start in game 3, and strong enough start. Not to the elite level that he was in the past, but still good enough. You know, when Freddie Freeman keeps on getting dingers off you, I mean, you're not going to really be able to get around that shit. And they haven't been able to get Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman out for the most part, and when you can't stop guys of that level, then you're gonna lose. I mean, and it's happened. They're down 3-0. So, granted, right now they're in a position where they might have a chance to win, but they have to hold on. But even with that, even if they were to win, it'd still be down 3-1. Garrett Cole would have a must-win scenario tomorrow night to try and make it 3-2, and then they get to go back to LA and lock up the World Series there. So we'll see what happens with that and do what we can. I mean, but Aaron Boone, I'm so fed up with Aaron Boone and the way he manages. I mean, people just shit on Joe Girardi, but at least Joe Girardi got the job done. I mean, all Aaron Boone is a ball licker, and he just listens to everything Brian Cashman tells him to do. He doesn't know how to wipe his own ass unless Brian Cashman tells him to wipe his own ass. So he's just a idiot stick, and the way they've managed his pitching staff and Aaron Judge. I mean, you can't go and move him down the lineup. Okay, fine, but he's been a freaking liability. And he's my favorite player, but he's a fraud 2.0. That's literally what he is. He's a fraud 2.0. Amazing, all world in the regular season, can't do jack shit in the postseason. And at the end of the day, when you're a Yankee, you're judged on what you do in October. No pun intended. there's a reason why Derek Jeter is unanimous Hall of Famer, even though the numbers may not say, like, he had 3,000 hits. He'll be one of the last people ever to have 3,000 hits, but numbers would say that, other numbers would say that he wasn't, like, all-world, but he was in October. And he made great plays. He went and had clutch hits. He was just the guy. He was the captain. He showed why he was the captain. He did it in this month. This month matters more than any other month in baseball. The baseball season takes forever, but it's about October. And Derek Jeter was able to do it in October. So we'll see what happens with this as we move forward. But going into the GSP roundup, this past week was they raced in Thailand this past weekend, and then they will race in Malaysia. The Grand Prix of Thailand last week saw Pecco Bagnaia beat Jorge Martin by just under 3 seconds for the victory. Pedro Acosta finishing third. Fabio Di Gianantonio and Jack Miller rounding out the top 5. Brad Binder is 6th. Maverick Vinales 7th. Johan Zarco 8th. Alicia Spargaro 9th. And Alex Marquez finishing ahead of his brother Mark 10th and 11th there. Luca Marini, Taka Nakagami, Bastianini, Mir, the points finishers. Fabio Quartararo fell off the bike, I guess, and didn't score a point. The Trackhouse duo, Salvadori and Fernandez, neither of them finished. They both crashed. So and then go through, yeah. So then in Moto 2, it was Aaron Canet, Ayagura, Marcos Ramirez for American Racing, Scantra, Morera rounded out the top 5. Ayagura locked up the Moto 2 World Championship this past weekend, so congratulations to him. Joe Roberts, he's injured, but he will be coming back next year. The same team will be back, so we'll see how that all goes. The standings in Moto GP, Jorge Martin has a 17-point lead on Pecco Bagnaia, and then Mark Marquez 11 points ahead of Bastianini. Brad Binder 6 points out of his future teammate Pedro Acosta for 5th. Then Pedro Acosta 17 points out of Maverick Vinales, who's 15 points ahead of Di Gianantonio. Morbidelli in 9th. Alicia Spargaro 10th. From Espargaro, Bezzecchi, and Marquez are separated by 7 points. So that's a battle we'll see going down to the end. In Moto 2, I mentioned Ayagura locked up the championship 50 points ahead, or 60 points ahead, of Aaron Canet and Sergio Garcia. So giving that team first and third in the championship. So that's a great job by them. Aldeguer, Gonzalez, Manuel Gonzalez, and round out the top 5. Joe Roberts, even with the injuries and not being able to make every Grand Prix, 7th in points. So see how he's able to do if he comes back to race at any point the rest of the season. So we have the Malaysian Grand Prix this coming weekend, and then the final race of the season in 2 weeks after that in Valencia to finish the 2024 championship. Of course, for Pecco Bagnaia, trying to cut into that lead between the sprint and the regular race so that it's a reasonable get or possibility to hold on to his world championship. Or will Jorge Martin take the number 1 plate over to Aprilia in 2025? Something that we'll get to look at soon enough. In supercars, they ran early look at 20. Yeah, so the results for The Bathurst, 500, so. Cam Waters won the first of 2 races at the Gold Coast, and then Brody Kostecki getting a second win in his last 3 races. Of course, winning the Bathurst 1000, but now winning the Gold Coast 500. Race 1 on the Gold Coast, Cam Waters over his teammate Thomas Randall, and Brock Feeney finishing 3rd. Matthew Payne giving Ford 3 of the top 4 finishers. Brody Kostecki finished 5th. New champion Will Brown finished 7th. In race 2, the results there, Brody Kostecki over the 2 Red Bull guys, Will Brown and Brock Feeney. Cam Waters, Thomas Randall rounding out the top 5. The driver's standings, Will Brown, of course, the champion. Brock Feeney gonna likely finish 2nd. Chaz Mostert pretty solid in 3rd, and Cam Waters in 4th. Matt Payne in a little battle there, 22 points ahead of James Golding. Thomas Randall on the edge there, 7th. Percat, Will Davison, and Andre Heimgartner, the Drivers' Championship. Red Bull, Ampol Racing, so 888. They're the constructors or owners, teams champions. The Monster Castrol Tickford team is 2nd. The Walkinshaw Andretti United team is 3rd. Penrite Grove Racing 4th. DJR 12 points ahead of Erebus. It's actually a good battle between Dick Johnson Racing, Erebus, and Matt Stone Racing for 5th. So we'll see how that all works out there. The next race will be Adelaide 500, the last race of the season, here in a few weeks' time, 2 weeks' time, just over 2 weeks' time, to finish the 2024 season. Mark Winterbottom doesn't have a ride for next year. Won't be full-time, but who finished fourth after won 38 races, 2013 claimed 2015 Drivers' Championship. Traded Tickford, failing her team 18 and remained with Gen 3 era. Team of Sedford co-drive. So we'll see. Hopefully someone in a Ford does. Somebody who owns a Ford team will call him back, which would be really cool. So that would one of the best, former champion, of course. We'll see if he can come back to the Blue Oval Brigade. The World Endurance Championship will finish their Endurance Championship. Will race at Bahrain for the 8 hours of Bahrain to finish the 2024 season. Classification. Yeah, so the points right now see Andre Lauderer, Kevin Estra, and Lawrence Vantor, the World Endurance Drivers Champions in the hypercar category. And of course, Penske Porsche making driver changes. It's not going to be anywhere near the same team as they've had this year, last few years. Antonio Fuoco, Miguel Molina, Nicholas Nielsen, 2nd, but only 2 points ahead of Kamui Kobayashi and Nick DeVries there. So that'll be a battle to look at. In manufacturers, Porsche 10 points out of Toyota, so that's still in play. The World Cup for hypercar teams, for the privateer teams, Hertz, Team Jota Sport, the number 12, leads by 43 over AF Corsa Ferrari number 83. The LMGT3 Drivers Trophy, Malkien, Sturm, Klaus Bachler lead the points, and they've won the championship there by 46 right now. They lead over Schuring, Richard Leitz, and Shaheen. So they're only 5 points ahead of Augusto Farfus, Darren Leong, and Sean Golael. And then Alex Riberas, Mancinelli, and Ian James, the Harder Racing Aston, there for GT3 drivers. Then the Manti Racing teammates, first and second right now. Team WRT, the BMW's third, Harder Racing fourth, LMGT3. Trying to see, the entry lists are what they are. The Bahrain, the usual circuit that they race, 36 cars in hypercar, 18 each, 18 cars in each class. So you have, and then the last race for Cadillac is with Ganassi before they change over to Joda Sport, and Porsche Penske, 6-car, the champions. So we'll see them, what happens with that. And then last but not least, NHRA will be racing this weekend at Las Vegas, the Ford Performance Nationals. John Force will be coming back and not racing, but he'll be coming out to support his teams. So that'll be great to see him come back out. Those first regular rounds in real Lontigs, so that's for EFI Factory X title. And Pacino, vertically Johnson Mountain Motor. Oh, he's driving a Ford, no less. So in the standings for NHRA, 2 races to go. Justin Ashley, 44 points up on Antron Brown, 76 Sean Langdon, 88 Steve Torrance. Tony Stewart behind Brittany Force, 8th and 9th there. Leah, any day now, is going to be they're going to be expecting their first child. So we'll see what happens with that, if he ends up going for that versus going on racing. In the funny car category, Austin Prock, basically it's over. But that John Force car has a chance to finish second with Jack Beckman. Matt Hagan's third. It's actually a pretty close battle. 33 points separating Force, Hagan, and Caps for second, third, and fourth. Bob Tasca's in fifth. So you got that right there. Top 10. In Pro Stock, Dallas Glenn, 53 points out of Aaron Stanfield, who's also battling for a Factory X title, as I mentioned. Greg Anderson's minus 90. And then in Pro Stock Motorcycle, Gage Herrera's 62 points out of Matt Smith, and that's really what the battle is there. Richard Gadsden's third, Hector Rana fourth. So that's it for the roundup. So let's move back into Formula One and the Brazilian Grand Prix. It's a track that is essentially a second home for Lewis Hamilton. 2021, one of the great performances of his career, that whole entire weekend. It's a sprint weekend, and it's you have the regular race on Sunday. So Red Bull is definitely on the back foot these days. Ferrari has shown good pace these last couple of weeks. McLaren, they're in the battle for the Constructors' Championship. Trying to see, I had George pick last week to start, so I'll start here. I'm going to say that Ferrari continues their momentum, and I will go with Charles Leclerc to win. I'll say Lando Norris finishes second, and Carlos Sainz finishes third. So basically swapping the Ferraris around from last week's race for this week in the regular race. Sprint race, who knows? I mean, Fishlips won that, but at Coda a couple weeks ago. But we'll see. He's going to take power unit penalties, so he's not going to start directly up front So we'll see how that all goes. What say you, Josh, on the Brazilian Grand Prix?
I guess I'm gonna go with I'm gonna say that Carlos Sainz actually wins again, so that'd be a third win for him in this season. But I'll go with him. I'm gonna say Oscar Piastri finishes second, and Lando Norris finishes third.
Okay, so I'll just Pete. So Josh has some Carlos Sainz to win with Oscar Piastri, and you said Lando third?
Yeah, Lando third.
Norris rounding out podium. Yeah, I mean, I think for Mercedes it'll be a little bit more of a struggle, but Lewis always wants to do well in Brazil, so might be able to pull off a top 5 finish maybe, but we'll see what happens with that. And Carlos Sainz round out podium. For NASCAR, we will move now to trucks at Martinsville. Go into that. So the Zip buy now, pay later 200 on Friday evening. 37 for 36. The one truck will go home. Sawalich in the one. Brett Moffitt driving for Hettinger Racing. I think that's the Brett Holmes. I believe that's the Brett Holmes team. Is that, yeah. Based on what it says on J-Ski itself. Hettinger, late model, Brett Holmes Racing under its new second. Okay, Hettinger, that's the team that was Brett Holmes Racing. So we'll see what happens with that, if they're able to keep the points or whatever. Norm Benning attempting to make the race. Connor Zilic in the 7 for Spire. Grant Enfinger trying to sweep the round. Johnny Sauter racing for Hattori Racing. Clayton Green for Reum Brothers. Josh Reum in an extra truck for his own team. Where are we at? Matt Mills is listed on the entry list, so is Connor Jones. Matthew Gould for Nice. So Phil Gould's son racing in the 44. Corey Day in the number 81 for McAnally Hilgeman. And Justin Carroll, Jack Wood in the 91. And then you have Ty Majeski there, Ben Rhodes. So 37 for 36. One truck will go home. So we'll see if, as long as weather cooperates, I think things should be all right. That's a 3-run shot for Glaber Torres. So 10-4. All right. It only took them 3 games to finally wake up, I guess. But they're really working on the long ball there. But we'll take one, and they still will lose probably tomorrow or whatever. But at least they got one win. They won't get swept. Josh, you get first dibs here on the truck series. Who do you look at as your winner and wild card? And then who makes the final 4?
I'm going to make it easy. I'm going to say that Corey Heim wins the race at Martinsville. So the point leader and the championship forward leader locks himself in, officially not like he needs to, and wins this race. And then my wild card, I'm going to say Connor Zilisch here, and then no change in the final 4.
With so that'll be 9, 11, 19, 98.
98, yeah.
Making final 4, no change. Phil is gonna say Ty Majeski to win, with In terms of a wild card, I'll just go Johnny Slaughter because they don't race every week. It wouldn't be a wild card in the past, but it's a wild card here. But a former championship winning organization, win with Johnny Slaughter wild card, Jan Zilich wild card, 9/11/98 making Final Four. For me, that would mean 9/98, but yeah, I'm doing the same thing. 11/19 making Final Four. No changes either on my end. I don't think any of those 4 drivers that are outside are going to be able to make inroads or do what they need to do to get the job. Oh, that's a good hit. That's a good hit on that umpire. Fouled off right off his face mask. That's a good one. NASCAR Xfinity Series at Martinsville. That's going to be a double. Double for Juan Soto. See if Aaron Judge can actually get a hit. That would be a novel concept. So 38 for 38. Nobody going home at this coming weekend. Or on Saturday. No big changes. We had Dylan Lipton, of course, in the 15 with his daddy's money. Sawalich in the 19. Almirola, as he has been for this whole playoff. In the 20, Bubba Pollard driving for Sam Hunt. Ryan C, of course, driving the 28. Carson Ware driving the 35 for Joey Gase. D Burrito for RSS will be, it sounds like they're going to be splitting off and going and running separately next year. Kyle Segan 39. Ryan Ellis is going to go from Alpha Prime to DGM next year. Preston Pardis will be in his family run 50. Myatt Snyder driving for DGM in the 91. Dawson Cram in the 92 for DGM. There you go. That's a single and RBI. RBI single for Aaron Judge. There you go. And then Patrick Emmerling in the 07. Greg Van Alst in the 14. Both for SS Greenlight. Garrett Smithley in the 45 for Alpha Prime. And then Mason Maggio for Joey Gase. And then the 74 says Ryan Vargas. So Ryan Vargas will be racing this coming weekend. So for me, who do I pick for the win this weekend in the Xfinity Series? Usually a demo derby at this race, but I am going to choose Justin Allgaier to win and lock himself into Phoenix and give himself yet another opportunity to possibly win an Xfinity title. And then my wild card's Bubba Pollard, because why not? He's driving a decent car, and it's a track that he has experience at, so it's an opportunity race for him. So I put Justin Allgaier to win and Bubba Pollard wild card. The final 4 will be the 16, 21, 7, and 00, which I think means no changes, right? So, that'll be no changes to the final 4 there. So, how about you, Josh?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Cole Custer winning this race, and then my wild card, gonna say Eric Almirola. It's a pretty high wild card there, so go with the 20 as my wild card. And then, I think same for me. No change in this. I think Xfinity and Truck, both the field should be set, honestly. So, that's what I'm going to go with. No change as well.
All right. So now the real fun one comes. is the NASCAR Cup Series at Martinsville. And that will be, there you go. Just went over that. So, we'll get their Cup Series, yeah. So the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville, which will have 37 for 40. So no problems with any DNQs or anything like that. Chastain will be racing the Moose sponsorship. Hale probably throwing back to the Hale Melon. Menards on Cindric. Bass Pro on Bald Spot. Sonny D, Josh Berry. Kings Hawaiian for Keselowski. Some weird Halloween themed paint scheme for Justin Haley. Optic Gaming, Gainbridge Sport, Cheddar's on Kyle Busch, Gagson, Bed Bath & Beyond, FedEx One Rate for Hamlin, Discount Tire for Blaney, Mahindra for Chase Briscoe, Meat and Bone for Dog, I guess that's Dog Treats for Kaz Gralla, Acceptance Insurance for Shane Van Gisbergen in the 16, Build Submarines for Christopher Busher, Auto Owners Insurance, Tribute for Martin Truex Jr., Mobile One for Chris Bell, Motocraft Quick Lane for Harrison Burton, Gel Pennzoil Logano, Xfinity for Bubba, Liberty University for Byron, High Point Paint Services, whatever that is, for Hemrick, Benebone for Michael McDowell, Rudenbush for Todd Gilliland, Mohawk Northeast for Ryan Priest, Ty Barker Fire and Safety for John Hunter Nemechek, Family Dollar, Eric Jones, Monster Energy for both Tyler Reddick and Keebler Gibbs. Richard with the combination of Colgate toothpaste and Philadelphia whipped cream cheese. That's always a great combination. Alex Bowman, of course, Ally. 2-1 pouches for Josh Balicki, Focus Health Zane Smith, Premier Security Carson Osavar, and Jockey Outdoors by Luke Bryan for Nacho Libre. Josh, you get first dibs here on your choices, and interested to see who you will pick as the guys that make it in.
For me, man, this is going to be really interesting. Because we've got two spots locked and two not. And out of those, I mean, it's pretty tight. I mean, Bell, I think, is going to get in. And actually, yeah, I'm going to say that Bell wins the race here. Yeah, we'll go with that. So that locks in one of those spots. And then the last spot, I'm going to say that Kyle Larson gets in on points over his teammate William Byron here, which kind of almost a repeat of last year. William Byron, I think, was one of the contenders in the round of 8, and then didn't get enough points to get into the Final Four there. So, yeah, I'm going to go with him, or with Kyle Larson getting that last spot there on points, which he needs it, because, I mean, like you said back at the top of the show, talking about the Cup Series, I mean, he's been the most successful driver in terms of wins in the Cup Series, so I wouldn't say it's quite like the Kevin Harvick 2020 in terms of domination, but certainly been, you know, one of the best drivers this year, and certainly sparked that conversation across all of motorsports with what he's achieved this year. But yeah, that'll be my Final Four there, with Bell and Larson blocking up the last two spots and everything. And then I guess I pull up the entry list here, the wild card. Pull that up real quick. Gonna say wild card. I'll go with Ryan Preece, who allegedly is driving the 60 car next year for RFK Racing. So, according to some rumors, that he's going to be the guy in that car in the 60 next year. So, Ryan Preece, good short track driver. Think he can get a good finish in next to last race for the 41 car in the Cup Series.
Well, the 41 car is still they're gonna be around with Haas factory team.
Oh, very true.
They're actually keeping. I would have thought they would have went with the 00. It would have made more sense personally. Since with Cole Custer and the whole the number kind of deal, they kept that with Keebler Gibbs, even though that wasn't his number, it was Kyle Busch's. But I think that would have been a better idea, but they're going to run the 41 on both sides. So the other numbers, at least for now, are not going to be there. I know the rumor was Noah Gagson said something about one of the car that he'll be driving at front row will be the number 4 car. So we'll see if that actually comes to pass. Of course, they don't have charters as of now. We don't know who the third driver is going to be for that team. We know 2 drivers. There's Gagson, of course, Todd Gilliland. You don't know who the third driver will be there. You also have Priest getting that Kroger sponsorship, driving that third car for RFK. It doesn't sound like they have a charter. Maybe they're the ones that are getting the charter, not 2311, or maybe they are getting a charter. I don't know. It's been weird what's been going on with those charters. I know Front Row was the first one to get one of the SHR charters, and then there's been 2 that have not been answered for. But then there's the notion of SVG and Trackhouse, and I think they were doing. I don't know if they were doing the deal with Spire or what. I have no idea. I have no idea where these charters are coming from for some of these teams. So we'll get better clarification as we move forward. Let me put the picks there. So yeah, Kyle Larson. So yeah, for me, I am going to say that. I am going to go and say that William Clyde Elliott II is going to go out and win at Martinsville to win and lock in with the wild card. Wild card will be lost then. Trying to bring up the entry list. Priest is a former pole sitter at Martinsville, so that's a really good choice. At this point, it doesn't really matter where we pick wild cards. I think for old time's sake, I think we should just go with. I just want to pick Ross Chastain. He won't be able to do the Hail Melon, but would be cool to see him get a decent run out there at Martinsville. He's good on the flat tracks in general too. For last year, won at Phoenix, so Chastain. Wild card. So with Clyde winning, that would mean we have Clyde gets in while Larson and Byron are out. Bell makes it on points. So that would be 22, 45, 9, and 20 make it in. So those are the choices for us. We'll see what happens with that. We move forward. And we'll talk about it next week on episode 244 of the GSP. With that, Josh, let us know what's going on in the world of iRacing and gaming. There's been some updates. There's been some new releases based on looking at Jimmy Broadbent and some of the other channels. Let us know what's going on with all that.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, you mentioned that. I haven't seen that yet, so I guess I'll quickly look on his page, but what I saw on iRacing, I guess, this week, Open Wheels 500 is back this year. I'm not sure, actually, if I will actually be able to do it, but, I think the entry list, last day to enter is on the 3rd, on Sunday, so Sunday, November 3rd, and last day to enter for that. And I think the qualifying begins a week later, and then the race is the 20 or the 15th, maybe. I don't know. It might have those mixed up, or it might be the 20th or something like that. But that's, I guess, yeah, for iRacing IndyCar community, that's a big event there. Which, yeah, that would be that's a very prestigious one for the IndyCar community on iRacing, of course. There. And then I saw a special event for the Formula Ford 1600 at Brands Hatch. This is the Formula Ford Festival, which I think that's a real life event for Formula Fords as part of kind of the stepping stone into F1. British Racing and Sports Car Club iRacing FF 1600 Festival racing at the Brands Hatch Indy layout, which, yeah, like I said, I think that's a real thing. A lot of up and comers like Connor Daly, Joseph Newgarden cut their teeth in Formula Fords over in England before coming back to the States and going into IndyCar and all that. Looking at some of the stuff Broadbent, I think, yeah, there's some stuff I think with Assetto Corsa coming out. So I haven't really played that one, but I know that's another highly popular sim game to go out. It's a little bit more open in terms of modding and stuff, but yeah, that's been another popular one there. As far as iRacing goes, though, I mean, this week, Martinsville on the NASCAR side of things. I guess at some point, I wonder when I'm kind of going back to what some people might have saw, but the MX-5s at Martinsville, I wonder if there'll be another special event privately held, probably in the winter time or so, because I know they do like the 24-hour deal with iRacing on the MX-5s there that's done for charity with Moonhead there, so we'll see how that goes on that deal there. IndyCar at, I think, Indianapolis, actually on the fixed oval side, so that might be a hit, obviously, to go do. I'm sure Open Wheels 500 people probably use that as a test vehicle, I guess, for that, to get data and stuff. On the road side, looking at that real quick. Let's see, the iRacing IMSA series at Jose Carlos Pace there. So that's, yeah, at there. You've got the GT Butt Kicker Cup, the Toyota GR Butt Kicker Cup at Oulton Park, the Rainmaster Series at Spa, so that might be interesting there. GT Ford at Hockenheimring there. Let's see what else. Clio Cup at Circuit Lebanon there. Trying to see where's the MX-5s this week. The Ferrari Challenge at Spa as well. So go figure for that. MX-5s at Circuit Novara there. So that's, I guess, one of the newer circuits on iRacing. The Grand Prix Legends at Circuit of the Americas. Formula Fords at Oran Park. The Formula Fords, at Brands Hatch Indy Circuit, so that's another probably leading into that IndyCar series at Road Atlanta there, so the open wheel IndyCar series at Road Atlanta there on that. So the iRacing, certainly get back into it, at least the Xfinity at Martinsville, the Cup Series at Martinsville, short track mayhem and chaos there, so we'll see how that goes, of course, to end of the year. And then I think the last special event for the Cup side is the championship race at Phoenix, which hopefully that's more interesting on iRacing than probably the real one is in reality, despite the fare of the championship and all that stuff. So yeah, that's all for iRacing this week, of course. Twitch streams, of course, at USaber2 when I do stream and everything. So go on there and check that out. I guess, for me, you can find me at my Twitch, as I just said, at Twitch TV/usailor2, and then of course the YouTube or the Twitter page at JB Huffine, of course, talking Jags, talking Dale Earnhardt Jr. coming back in the number 8 car, which probably should have mentioned that a little bit more in depth, but I'm sure Joe will be on here in a few weeks once he's more free, and we can talk about that a little bit more. But Budweiser number 8 car coming back at Florence, so later this month or next month in Florence, South Carolina, which I actually drove through on my vacation and everything. The Florence Motor Speedway there, South Carolina 400, and South Carolina 250 weekend there for late model stock car racing there. And then in the select events next year, Dale Jr. competing in the number 8 car. So glad to have that back. And yeah, gonna have to go buy merch, of course, for Budweiser merch, which as a kid, it was kind of interesting rooting for the Budweiser guy and you're a kid. So now I guess I'm old enough to wear the Budweiser merch and not feel as awkward about it. So we'll definitely be looking for that to buy here and possibly wear where I can. So got that. And of course, again, Twitter at JP Huffine on there. And then of course the YouTube page at Gripster Podcast on there to go see most of our episodes on there, all produced and uploaded onto YouTube and everything. So yeah, of course, glad to be able to talk about it every week, and getting closer to the end of the NASCAR season, which been a long one, but once again we're here again at the end of the year and talking about the championship time here on this show.
Yeah, definitely going and doing the show as always, and being able to discuss NASCAR, all things racing with you, and also talking about football too, with going on at the fantasy side and also real world side. Getting a trade that actually happened while we were doing the show, so that was cool to get the analysis there. As always, the in-depth insider analysis from Josh about his Jaguars. Probably should be the GM. I don't know. It probably might be a pay cut. I don't know for whatever you do. Maybe it might be a pay upgrade. But maybe we could book AEW. That might be that might be an idea. I think you could help the cons out. You could do double. You could do 2 for the price of 1 or something. But you can find me at PGMatthew28 on Twitter. You can find us at GripstripPod on Twitter. You can find me at PGMGSP28 on Instagram. You can find the Gripstrip Podcast, of course, on the YouTube page. You can find it on my YouTube page, the audio feed. You can also find it at philipgmatthew.com. So that is about it. You can find us anywhere, basically, podcasts. You can find us, find the GSP. And then you listen to the Grid Talk podcast for Formula One. Want to go and listen to us on there, depending on how the schedule works. I'll be on there, I think, for the race recap this coming weekend, and it'll be on live. So see what happens there. We'll be back next week for episode 244 of the Gripster Podcast to discuss what happened at Martinsville and what will take place at Phoenix for the finale, who will be in the Final Four, and who are our picks for the championship in each of NASCAR's 3 major series. And then we'll also recap everything that went on in the rest of motorsports and sports, for that matter. So for Josh, I'm Phil. Thanks for listening to Gripster Podcast, and we'll see you next time.